Good evening and welcome to the Boston College webinar. Um, Thanks so much for joining us tonight. My name is Owen Grover. I'm a Senior Assistant Director of Undergraduate Admission here at Boston College. And I want to welcome you to tonight's webinar. The theme of tonight's webinar is Student Life and Involvement at Boston College. I think the full title is actually Clubs, Organizations, and Social Life at BC. No Greek life, no problem. So tonight we're going to talk about student involvement, how students get involved, how they spend their time on campus outside of the classroom. We know that so much of your focus while you're at Boston College is in the classroom, but there's also a lot of time that you're spending on campus and in the area outside of the classroom. So I think it's important to hear a little bit about how our students utilize that time. So you can see that I'm actually joined by 5 current undergraduate students who are really experts on social life at BC. And you're going to hear from them a little about their perspectives. And you'll hear from them very shortly. But I also just want to start off by saying we're really grateful that you're taking the time to learn a little bit more about Boston College this evening. You know, I know how challenging this college search process is, even under the most normal of circumstances. So I can only imagine how much more challenging it's made by the current circumstances that we're all facing due to the pandemic. We would love to be on campus right now, showing off our beautiful campus. It is, as we say in Boston, wicked nice, and we think you would love it. But unfortunately, we can't all be there right now. So hopefully we'll be able to use the next hour or so to teach you as much as possible about BC. Because the reality is that, as challenging as this is for all of us, the college search process goes on. And, we hope that you seniors out there next August and next September are going to land at really great college campuses that you're going to be so happy at. But we understand that you have to do the legwork now to figure out where those places are and what type of places you want to be at. So hopefully we'll be able to use this session this evening to teach you a little more about Boston College and hopefully open your eyes to all the wonderful things that are happening here. But as I said, I've brought along some experts, some current students at Boston College to really help me with this tonight. I really think that they are the people that you want to be hearing from. That's my advice on any college search that you go on and any college visits that you do. Talk to as many current students as possible. Because, if you end up coming to Boston College, you're not going to be walking around in my shoes for 4 years, in the shoes of an administrator. You're going to be walking around in the shoes of these current undergraduate students. So I think they're really the ones that have the brains that you should be picking and really getting their insight. So how this session will be structured is that I'm going to have them introduce themselves, tell you a little bit about what they do at Boston College and how they might be involved outside of the classroom. And then we will get into a question and answer session where I'll take some common questions that we've gotten about student life at Boston College, and we can bounce them off our students and see what they have to say about that. So again, thanks so much for tuning in. We hope that this webinar will really teach you how vibrant the Boston College community is, because community is so important to us at BC. And I think that's probably a theme that you'll hear throughout tonight's presentation and anytime you really learn more about Boston College. So I hope that our students will be able to really convey that sense of community tonight. But without further ado, I'll turn it over to the students to get started and take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Owen. I don't know if expert is the word I would use to describe you, but I appreciate it nonetheless. And thank all of you for being here tonight, like Owen mentioned. My name is Justin Hallett, and I'm a junior here at Boston College, originally from Worcester, Massachusetts. I'm in the Carroll School of Management studying marketing and information systems with a minor in computer science. So the club or organization I'm going to talk about today is the Campus Activities Board, commonly abbreviated to CAB or CAB. You'll see I'm wearing the little logo on the shirt right now. That was actually a coincidence. I just put this on in the morning, totally forgot about this panel, but it was a good coincidence nonetheless. This organization is the largest event planning organization on campus. Meredith, who is joining us today, is actually the president of that organization. So realistically, she should probably be the one talking about it, but I'm going to do that and let her talk about one of her other involvements. So what event planning organization means is essentially we'll put on various different fun and diverse events for the student body to try and encourage students to kind of get out of their dorms, have some fun, explore the city of Boston, explore neighboring towns, and just enjoy campus life. So that could be anything from bingo and trivia nights to like ice skating on our hockey arena, ice skating on Frog Pond, trips to Salem. We go on a ski trip. We plan all three of BC's concerts in the fall, winter, and spring. Obviously, this year that's going to look very different, but we're still planning events even virtually. We actually just got approved to plan like a haunted house on the lawn. It's going to be one of our biggest in-person events. I'm like really excited. It's going to be next Friday. So like those types of things are happening all the time, and this organization that I'm in puts them together. My freshman year, I joined what we call the mentorship programming team. This is essentially me and 19 other first-year students paired with 4 upperclassmen mentors, and they help kind of guide us through our transition, both into Boston College, but also into CAB in general. And so that was a really great program that really shaped my freshman year and has shaped my BC experience as a whole. I ended up becoming like really close friends with many of the other students who were in that program, so much in fact that even now, 2 years later, those are all like my roommates were pretty much in the mentorship program team. Obviously, we've picked up a few other friends along the way that aren't in CAB, but especially my freshman and sophomore year, much of my social life revolved around this organization. I've definitely, I think, had some like weird experiences that at the time I just thought were like super normal. It's like, oh, like this is just like awesome BC fun. And then I look back and it's like, how did I get to do that? Like things like riding a Zamboni around Conti Forum, like refereeing a mud volleyball tournament, spinning the turntables of our winter EDM concert, really like weird, crazy, awesome memories that I've made, especially like freshman, sophomore year, and as I continue to make them as a junior, like all of those memories go back to being a member of the campus activities board. And I always think back to how lucky I am that I just happened to kind of go to one of these events early on in my freshman year, really enjoyed it, and then wanted to join and actually got in. So definitely I'd recommend if you do go to BC applying to the Campus Activities Board. But obviously there are so many other really amazing events, and I'm going to turn it over to the rest of my peers to talk about what they're involved in.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Justin. Meredith, do you want to go next?
Yes, I'll take it away. I could not have done a better job than Justin, for sure. I'm Meredith. I'm a senior in the Morrissey College of Arts and Sciences studying international studies, and I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. And early on, before I even got to BC's campus, I heard of this club called APA. It was through the convocation book that we were supposed to read my year. The author was a BC grad, and he talked about how much he loved APA and his experience there. And APA is a domestic spring break service program that goes far beyond the Appalachia region. There's like 30 or 40 sites now. It kind of varies from year to year. And I'd gone on service trips in high school, and I read about the program in the convocation book, and I was like, this sounds really cool. So I looked out for them at our student involvement fair, and I signed up super early on. And one of the really cool things about APA is that they accept everyone as long as you sign up on time. So I didn't have to like do anything special or go through like an interview process or anything like that. I just was immediately in, and I went to the meetings bi-weekly throughout the year leading up to the trip. And then my freshman year, I went to Hazard, Kentucky with about 9 other students, and we had 2 student leaders. So it was, just undergraduates on the trip together, and the student leaders had been on APA trips before. And it was a really amazing experience. It made me reflect on my freshman year and think about the choices that I wanted to make going into my sophomore year, and also about the community that I was serving, and think about, kind of the tensions between a place that wasn't so far away from where I lived, which was really cool. So I came back to APA my sophomore year. I went to Detroit, Michigan, which was a very different experience. I was working in a homeless kitchen that year. And then this spring, I went to Ivanhoe, Virginia, which was, I'm super blessed to have been able to go on that trip. It was a week before we got sent home. And it was such an amazing way to end my junior year. I happened to be on a trip with a really close senior friend who was leading it. And it was an amazing way to kind of take our time together and kind of reflect on where I was going into BC. So going into my senior year, I know I wanted to take my commitment to APA up a level. So I'm a trip leader this year, and we're still meeting in small groups and talking about social justice. And we've been able to bring in topics that have come up over the summer and that seem more salient than ever with Black Lives Matter and other topics. Like our topic this Sunday is sexism and LGBTQ in the Appalachia region. And so it's a really amazing experience, and I'm super grateful for the community that's given me at BC and for pushing me as a person to grow and how I think about my decisions that I make and the reflection and the people in the world around me. And it's also definitely led me to my postgraduate plans, which I'm tentatively can promise that I'm going to be a Teach for America teacher. And I don't think that I would have gotten there without my experience in Appalachia, which has kind of made me think more about how I serve other people and the Jesuit values that kind of guide Appalachia and BC, which I totally did not expect to get. So I'm super grateful.
That's fantastic. And congrats on Teach for America, Meredith. That's awesome. Really exciting news. Michaela, do you want to share your introduction next?
Yeah, sure. So I'm actually going to touch on BC's location in the city of Boston, but I really want to do a test to what Meredith was saying as well. I went on APPA my sophomore year and had an amazing time. And I've actually known Meredith since freshman year. She lived on my floor, and I remember her getting into CAB her freshman year, and now she's the president of the whole organization. So it's really crazy. Time flies. So my name's Michaela Slattery. I'm a senior. I'm originally from Omaha, Nebraska, and I'm studying in the Cannell School of Nursing, majoring in nursing. One of my favorite aspects about BC is that we're located in the literal college town of America. There are over 250,000 college students within 10 miles of campus, so there's always something to do. I believe there's also a statistic, I saw it on Twitter once, where the average age in the city drops 7 years when college students come back in September, which is crazy to think about the influence we have on this huge metropolitan area. BC is only 7 miles from downtown Boston, and there's actually only 797 footsteps from campus to the nearest subway stop to get you into the city, or we call it the T. My friends and I thought the T was the coolest thing ever freshman year. I grew up in Nebraska. There's no public transportation at all. A lot of my friends didn't have subway systems, so we'd often just take the T into the city and ride around. We would take the bus. It was the most exciting thing ever. The T is only $2.25, so it's so cheap to get in. We're only a quick 20-minute ride. Boston is also home to so many professional sports teams and world-class events, and BC students are actually offered free admission to the Museum of Fine Arts, the Aquarium, the Museum of Science, just to name a few things. I remember my freshman year, my friends and I had nothing to do one night, and we were sitting in our dorms, and we're like, oh, let's go out and explore. So we just did a quick Google search of events for college student in Boston, and there was a college night at the Museum of Science. So we found ourselves at 9 p.m. on a Saturday night going into the city to the Science Museum to this college night. And I'm not a nerdy science person or anything. And in high school, I never thought I would be the one going to a Science Museum on a Saturday night. But we had so much fun, and we met so many people from across the city and would banter from the kids from BU and Northeastern about who's better, where are you from? So it was really incredible to have that opportunity right at our fingertips. I'm also a diehard Red Sox fan, and you're actually offered $9 student tickets to Red Sox games if you go to school in Boston. So you bet my friends and I go all the time. We take the subway in. It's just a quick 15-minute ride. It's a $9 ticket. It's $5 on the subway there and back. So there's so many times I've probably gone into the city for a Red Sox game when I should be doing my homework or should be studying for an exam, but the opportunity is just too good to pass up. Another one of my favorite aspects of going to school in a big college town are the rivalries we have with the other schools, which is often displayed through hockey. So every February, we play Boston University, Northeastern, and Harvard in this giant hockey tournament at TD Garden, which is all the way downtown. It's our big indoor arena in Boston. It's where the Celtics play. And we play these 3 schools in a big hockey tournament. And what BC students do is we pack the T. So everyone gets on at the subway line, and all the BC students crowd the subway, so none of the kids from other colleges can get on the subway, and we ride it all the way downtown. And it's really one of my favorite events in the winter, just because every single BC student goes. It was one of my favorite memories freshman year. And it's just really fun to take part of this big college town. So although there's so many activities to do on campus, like Justin and Meredith have talked about, I really love having Boston quite literally in our backyard. It's been a great opportunity.
That's fantastic, Michaela. I love hearing those stories. I have one question for you. How did the Red Sox cultivate fandom in Nebraska? How did someone from Nebraska become a diehard Red Sox fan?
Yeah, so I was actually born in Worcester, where Justin's from. So all my family's from the East Coast, so I had those ties. And I actually wanted to be a sports reporter when I was little, so I made an Instagram account in middle school, and I got really into the Red Sox and reporting. So I've just become a diehard fan over the years. And I knew about Red Sox student $9 tickets when I was younger, so I was like, oh, I want to go to school in Boston. It'd be so nice to go to games so cheap, and here I am really living the dream.
That's great. I love to hear that story. Thanks, Michaela. Lauren, do you want to introduce yourself next?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Lauren Appel. I'm a junior in the Morrissey College of Arts and Sciences studying economics. I have 2 minors, one in history and the other in accounting for finance and consulting in the Carroll School of Management. I'm from a suburb of Chicago, just like north of the city, called Long Grove. But an activity I want to share with all of you was my involvement in the club running team my freshman year. So I ran competitively all throughout high school, cross country and track, and really loved it and met a lot of my friends through my team. So coming to college, I was kind of seeking out those opportunities as well and stumbled upon the club running team. So club sports just kind of make you aware of what it is. It's the level between varsity and intramural sports. So I'm not a Division I athlete. I don't travel insane amount or have practice or anything like that. I really loved it because I still got that competitive side and that team dynamic while also allowing to kind of balance my schedule with academics. But just to talk about my experience freshman year was I knew another kid from my area. He also ran cross country. So him and I walked down to the first practice together right outside on lower campus and just kind of joined these upperclassmen who really took us in and said, all right, we're going to break out into groups and do some, like, just depending on your mileage. And from then on, I just really loved the club. There was a senior at the time, her name was Tina. She really took me in under her wing and trained me and mentored me. She was also an economics major, so she gave me all the pointers and the tips for studying as well. I ended up becoming really involved, and I traveled with the team as well. So my freshman year, I went to New York for regionals, and that qualified us for nationals once when we placed first there. And then 2 weeks later, I was on a plane down to Lexington in Kentucky, and I never thought I would end up there, but here I was competing against schools all across the nation at a chance to kind of showcase our talent. So the women's team ended up placing 7th that year, and I was a part of that team. It's one of my most memorable experiences freshman year, just kind of getting to stay at the hotels with the team. There is a men's team as well, so we traveled with them, and just the dynamic that I got to build with them was really awesome. Just other things to point out, athletics here at Boston College is we do have intramural sports. I've been a part of those as well. So those are more like the tiered down. You just have weekly games. You typically put a group of friends together. So I've done intramural soccer and volleyball. It's great because I did play all of those at some point. And you compete for this really coveted mug that everyone talks about. And it has like an intramural champion. My brother went to Boston College and he has his mug in his apartment and he's 25. So that's just a testament to really show you kind of the culture that we have around intramural sports. And it's also great to talk about our Division I athletics and the fact that we're in the Atlantic Coastal Conference. So getting to play teams like Clemson, UNC. Right now with the football season, it's really nice to just turn on a game. Also a big hockey fan. I also love the tradition of the Notre Dame versus BC games that happen every 2 years called the Holy Wars. Last year in Thanksgiving break, I went home early since I'm not too far from Notre Dame and went there as well to show my pride for BC. So I really feel like I've been able to meet other people and explore opportunities through athletics.
That's great. Thanks for sharing, Lauren. And Julia, do you want to finish off?
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Julia Freyon. I am from Northeastern Massachusetts, and I'm a junior here at BC, majoring in communication in the Morrissey College of Arts and Sciences and minoring in applied psychology in the Lynch School of Education and Human Development. And I'm going to talk about a huge aspect of my social life freshman year, but honestly throughout my time at college, and that was living on Newton campus my freshman year. So to kind of explain what that is or give a very brief overview, we have 2 freshman campuses. So 60% of our freshmen live on upper campus, which is right next to all of the main classrooms and our middle campus. And we also have a satellite campus called Newton campus, which is about a 5-minute bus ride away. And when I found out I was going to be living on a satellite campus coming to BC, I was even more nervous than I already was because I was going to be separated from the main campus. But what I came to find out coming to BC is that actually living on a satellite campus with all freshmen is awesome because everyone wants to make friends with you. So I would go to the dining hall and everyone standing in line wanted to be my friend. I talked to every single person that was in front of me or behind me, and having to take that bus, that 5-minute bus ride to class every day became an amazing opportunity because there were so many people to talk to. So obviously now, due to the worldwide pandemic, we do not crowd people on the bus anymore, but my freshman year, we would crowd as many people as possible onto those buses, and we all got very close. We all really got to know each other on those bus rides. So that became a great way for me to make friends during my time at BC. And I actually had a random roommate, her name was Erin, and we ended up becoming best friends through our time on Newton and spending all of that time together in our dorm. We lived in a dorm called Keys and we were obsessed with it. But if you live on upper campus, you're also going to get a very similar experience because BC really does not miss a beat when it comes to freshman programming in your residence halls. So residential life really focuses heavily on making sure our freshmen are having a great experience. So every week you will have something called either a hoot, which is hanging out on Tuesdays, or a howl, which is hanging out on Wednesdays late. That one is a little bit of a stretch, but every week your RA will have an event. They'll probably get some food from a local restaurant, maybe grab some ice cream, and your entire hall will get together and just talk about whatever's going on. Sometimes you'll do an activity, watch a movie, or other times you will literally just chat, or maybe even do karaoke. I think we did karaoke once my freshman year. That was so much fun. And in addition to that, we are constantly having little events. So when I lived on Newton, we had a Build-A-Bear night, one of the first weeks where we could stuff like stuffed eagles in our dining hall. And I mean, I still have mine. They're adorable. Or we had a trivia night. And when you play trivia with my roommate, Erin, you are just playing for second. So we won Uber gift cards from that event. It was so much fun. And honestly, I am so grateful to residential life for placing me on Newton, but also giving me the chance to have all these activities that I literally just had to show up at, and I was already bonding with my fellow freshmen.
That's great, Julia. Thanks so much for sharing those stories. So we have about 35 minutes now for a Q&A, for question and answer. So I want to present some questions that have been getting asked frequently. So, in sticking with the title of this webinar, which is, Social Life at Boston College, and I think part of the subtitle is No Greek Life, No Problem. I want you to reflect a little bit back on your own college search processes. For some of you, they weren't too long ago. What were you looking for when it came to social life at your prospective institutions? And did the fact that Boston College didn't have Greek life make you nervous at all? Were you looking at schools mainly with Greek life? Or, what made you feel comfortable choosing Boston College being a school that doesn't have Greek life? Anyone want to get started with that?
I can go ahead and kick it off. I'm from the South, as I said, I'm from Memphis, Tennessee, and all of my friends, like, one of the first things they would talk about when they were talking about schools, like what sorority they're going to join. And it wasn't super on my radar in terms of like Greek life, and overall parts of it intimidated me a lot, I think. And the idea of like the first thing I did when I got to campus was like rush, also kind of made me nervous. So when I was looking at schools, it was kind of like, okay, well, I'll just let the school like be the right school, and that'll make the decision for me of whether or not I should be in Greek life. And that's kind of like what's meant to be. And I don't regret that at all. When I came to BC, it was kind of nice. It was like, okay, that's one less thing I have to worry about, is like what sorority I'm choosing and like what's the right one and that kind of thing. But I will say, like, as I was looking at first, all my friends, it seemed like they had these immediate, like, huge groups of friends, like the first week of school. And I was like, oh no, like, did I make a huge mistake? Like, it would be so easy if BC had Greek life right now. But I think a lot of my connections that I've made through my clubs that I joined, a week or two later, ended up being really great. My, friends that I met from orientation groups kind of connected me with other friends pretty quickly. So I didn't have to wait that long. I just had to be a little bit more patient than I wanted to be. But I think that those relationships have paid off because we have a lot of shared purpose. And a lot of my friends that have had Greek life, like some of them are super involved in their sororities to this day, and they're, the leaders, and that's really amazing to see. And some of them have decided, that's not for me. I just did it because it seemed comfortable, and they dropped it. So I think it's been a really good experience at BC, and I don't really feel like I've totally missed out because I didn't get to do Greek life.
Go
You can
ahead,
go,
Joe.
Michaela.
Oh, well, I can talk too. Something that really drew me to BC was its residential aspect as well. So something unique to BC is that students live on campus for 3 or 4 years. If you go off campus, it's for your junior year. And then I believe the statistic is 95% of seniors will come back on and live on campus senior year. So this is something that definitely drew me to the school. Both my parents went to a very residential college, so they made all their best friends freshman year, and they always talk about how wonderful it was to have all their friends and live on campus and hang out, and that's really something I wanted. And I've really come to love that here at BC. It's so nice having all of my friends literally just a 3 or 4 minute walk away from me as well. And I really feel like you can find such great connections in your dorms freshman year and through your clubs on campus. So just adding to the residential aspect of BC was a huge draw for me.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with Michaela and Meredith on that one. Even more so with Meredith as well. Like, I felt kind of pulled towards schools that did have Greek life just because that was what I was more familiar with. My brother, who was older than me, was like the social chair of one of the largest fraternities at UMass Amherst, which granted isn't even comparison to like any fraternity down in the South, but it's still like was a pretty big commitment that was like kind of defined his college experience. And when I was looking at schools, I was very skeptical of going to a school that wasn't able to offer that. Since arriving at BC, I think I've totally realized that a lot of the clubs and organizations that we have here really fill the role that Greek life normally would fill at a different school. For example, like what we're doing right now is part of the student admissions program, and this is like one of the many clubs that offers things like formals and mentorship programs, and ways of kind of like getting to know each other, and forming those really close friendships early on. I mean, I talked about in my intro the mentorship program at CAB. Those are things that oftentimes fraternities and sororities would offer. And I really do think that has filled that social role really well at BC. I also think one of the perks of not having Greek life is that us as a student body is not as segmented into like specific friend groups. We were joking like before this panel about how connected the five of us are. Like we all kind of know each other from random things. And granted, I don't know because I didn't go to another school, but I feel like oftentimes from what I've seen, like schools that do have Greek life, that's less common just because oftentimes the people you're friends with are in your fraternity or your like sister sorority or whatever that may be. So I'm really thankful that, like, especially like as a junior, I'm realizing just how many people I know, like across a bunch of different clubs and organizations. And I feel like I'm in like a ton of different, almost like smaller fraternities and sororities rather than just like one, which I've definitely enjoyed and has really defined my BC experience.
That's great. Those are super helpful answers. And it sounds like you all have friends, right? You all look like pretty social and pretty well adjusted. Were any of you nervous about making friends, or did it sort of just happen naturally when you got to campus? It sounds like it did, but can any of you talk about whether you had any apprehension about making friends when you got to campus and how that sort of happened for you?
I was very nervous about making friends. I had not had to make new friends in years. And I'm sure you guys can all relate. You pretty much go your whole childhood or your whole high school experience with very similar friends. And I forgot how to make new friends when I was coming to college. I probably shouldn't admit this because my mom and brother are in the audience, but I was really scared to leave home and not be living with my family and be living with friends. But living with friends actually helps you make those connections a lot faster, I will say. And when you're in your residence halls, you do have communal bathrooms, so you are constantly going to be running into and meeting different people. But in addition to that, another really great way for me to get involved and make friends with some upperclassmen was by joining clubs, of course, but by joining clubs that have mentorship programs. And a lot of our larger clubs on campus do have that. So for me, that club was Eagleman, or Model UN here at BC. And I got an upperclassman mentor immediately when joining. And that he kind of helped steered me through and gave me advice on anything I might need advice on my freshman and sophomore year. And actually, I got to know a lot of other freshmen and sophomores through doing that mentorship program. So it was very much a win-win situation where I got freshman and sophomore friends, and I also got an upperclassman mentor who could help guide me through.
So similar to Julia's experience, my freshman year, I kind of came in. I am from the Midwest, so as like Meredith and the rest of the panelists were talking about, you see all these maybe social media posts of your friends out at school, and it seems like they've made friends instantly. And every Friday, I was going back to my room after class, being like, "What am I doing this weekend? What do I have plans? Am I hanging out with my roommate?" And those, at one point, it just became a lot. And I always tell this story about coming back to my room one Friday after classes and feeling so lost. So I called up my brother, who's a BC alum. He graduated in 2017, and him giving me some really valuable advice. He's like, well, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm doing nothing. He goes, well, that's the problem. You're not putting yourself out there. It was very harsh, but loving brotherly advice. But what I really loved was his kind of influence and his direction for me to go out and just ask someone in my class if they wanted to grab lunch. I did that the following week, and that person is now has been my direct roommate for the past 2 years. She introduced me to a whole new set of friends, and I've clicked with them ever since. And now I'm in my second year of living with them, and just kind of goes to show like just one action can make a huge difference. And everyone here at BC, especially in their first year, is just looking out for opportunities and ways to connect with one another. So no one's going to shut you down. That is not going to happen. And I started doing that more just with people in my classes. I could turn to the person next to me and be like, hey, can I grab your number? Like, I really want to compare notes. And from then on, it just kind of becomes a relationship or a friendship. And I started meeting before my class with some of the people to get lunch. And so just from then on, it kind of formulated to these really great friendships that I'm grateful for. So I do have friends.
One of my favorite things to do, and like my friend group loves to do this because it's just so fun. It's like traced back to how we all met each other. And it's so crazy. So like I was introduced to this group of people freshman year, like during the first week, from a girl in my orientation group. I just kept running into her, and she was like, hey, do you want to like grab lunch with us? Do you want to go to the aquarium? I'll put you in this group chat. And the group chat ebbed and flowed. People who showed up to dinner ebbed and flowed. But over time, it was like a group of people from like orientation, people that all lived on the same hall or in the same building, people that were in class together, people that were in the same clubs together. And there's just all these fun different connections of like how we ended up to where we are now. And it's so crazy that there's all these different ways you can meet people. And it'll just be this like melting pot at the end of the day. You do become interconnected with everyone through the different ways you get to BC. And that's like one of the best things about the size of BC is that there's always new people to meet, but you never feel like you're in a room of strangers.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, Meredith. It sounds like a few of you have mentioned a lot about clubs on campus, and it sounds like social life often and how you meet people can revolve around clubs and clubs for common interests that you have with people. How do you join clubs? Can some of you talk about, getting involved in clubs? Are there a lot of them on campus? What does that look like?
Yeah, sure. So I can just touch on how you simply get involved with clubs in the beginning. So every September, we have a big student activities fair on our Stokes lawn on campus, which is one of the big green grassy spaces, and every single club has their own table. So it's packed with tables, and the freshmen and sophomores and anyone who's really looking to get involved will start to weave themselves through, and people will be throwing like candy at your head. They'll be just like forcing you flyers. They'll be tossing frisbees, really doing anything to get you to join their email listserv. But that's really just a great and easy way to get involved from the very beginning. It's very overwhelming at first because we do have about 300 clubs and activities here on campus, so you can find things for anything you're interested in. So a lot of people find themselves freshman year signing up for like 20 different listservs, and they start getting bombarded with emails and they're like, what do I do? How do I choose? But it's very easy to get involved with clubs from the beginning of your freshman year, really.
I also think, the involvement fair is definitely one of my favorite traditions here at BC, and I'm a huge supporter of that. But I also think like just interacting with clubs is probably one of the best ways you can get to know like the people in it and see if it's a good fit for you. That's what I did with the campus activities board early on in my freshman year. I just happened to go to like a football watch party and like a bingo night, and I realized that like these were the same like club putting these on. And I was like, oh, like this is something I want to do. Like that sounds really cool. I'm like, obviously there was a ton of clubs that like put on like shows and events outside of CAB that are like great opportunities to get to know people, and then you can maybe join them from there. So I know like there's a ton of cultural organizations where like I've been to a few different like culture fairs, and like those were like super cool, and I met some really amazing people. Like a cappella shows, dance competitions, improv shows, like those are always happening like at any given night. So you go to those events and like meet the people who are putting them on. Like that's a great way of getting to know people, and then you're also going to be able to have the chance to eventually meet, possibly even like join that if it really interests you.
That's great. Thanks, Justin. And we've gotten some questions, and people always want to know, like, are these clubs hard to get into? Are they selective to join? Are some selective and others aren't? Can somebody talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I would definitely say some are selective and others aren't. So there are going to be some more selective groups on campus. One of the best, but also worst things about BC is that we have so many amazing students. So some of the clubs are more competitive than others. We do have some clubs that are very selective. And so for those types of clubs, even if you don't get in on the first try, your first semester freshman year, you can still keep trying to get into them. So you can apply your second semester freshman year or even into your sophomore year. I know juniors and seniors that are still applying to these selective clubs just to see if they can get in later in their experience. But there are also clubs that are open to everyone and that there are no cuts for. So we're actually all participating in one of them right now called SAP. It is a huge organization, student admission program with over 1,000 volunteers, and everyone can get involved in SAP. And one of the great things about it is that you can start with very minimal involvement and work your way up throughout your time at BC. So if you're looking for a more leadership role, after you do a few semesters with us here in SAP, you can obtain a more leadership role of being a tour guide or being a panelist like we are now. And there are a lot of clubs like that on campus where you can just join and kind of work your way up to a more leadership role.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Julia. That was a helpful explanation. So it sounds like you all are super involved. Like have all listed off a whole bunch of things that you're involved with. How do you manage the balance between being so involved and the rigorous academic expectations that Boston College has for you? Can any of you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I can. Meredith, I don't know if you. Okay, I'll go first. It's just that question really hit home for me. In my sophomore year, I really noticed that I was committed in many different ways. I was a part of one of our courses, the theology and philosophy course, that had a service component to it. I was a trip leader. I was in the undergraduate government. So I was doing a lot of different things that were kind of spreading me thin, and I wasn't really recognizing it until one of my friends was like, "You're never here." And that kind of made me like take a step back. I think it's really easy for students to be eager, but I think one thing that you just come to realize with, time and just maybe some self-reflection is that you need to choose the clubs that are going to make you the happiest, not what you just feel simply obligated to do. But as far as that balance that I had to kind of adjust to in my sophomore year, it was really being proactive about work, which is not easy. So Sunday mornings, I would have meetings starting sometimes at 4 p.m. and ending at 8 p.m. So those were really long days, and those were just for two of my clubs, actually. Some weeks it was better, some weeks it was worse. I just kind of had to plan for it. And so what I would do is just wake up early on Saturday, or early on Sunday, and kind of do some of my work or as much as I could and be proactive about it during the week as well. Making sure I was reaching out to some of these people and say, it's okay to one thing I always felt this way in high school too was I couldn't miss a thing, but I started realizing I needed to prioritize myself and what was more important to me, which sometimes it meant studying for an exam besides going to a maybe general meeting. And of course, every time I reached out to the council or the kind of director of these organizations, they were very understanding. It's not cutthroat. I wasn't going to lose a position or anything like that. But that was just kind of what I realized with time was spreading myself too thin. And now this year I've kind of recommitted myself and decommitted to myself from, if you will say, from certain organizations just to kind of make my schedule more of what I want it to look like.
Yeah, I think one of the things too for me going into college was that I felt like in high school I was spread really thin, and I didn't want to do that anymore. I felt like I was just doing things to put them on a resume to get into college. And I was like, I'm in college, I can do what I want. And I know it's kind of crazy sounding, but I got involved with CAB, and I got involved with APA, and I got involved with student admissions, and I had a job, and that felt like a really good balance between all of those things. And I pursued leadership positions in certain clubs and decided that I would keep a lower commitment in others, which is hard because you come into BC, obviously you're a competitive student, you like being a leader in clubs, you like being super involved in things, but recognizing that I needed to step back in certain things was definitely the way to go. And then, as I've changed around some of my commitments, or I've found certain times to do things, have figured out my time management more, I've been able to step up some of my leadership across the board, especially as a senior. Those are what really bring me joy, my involvement in clubs. throughout the week. So I think between that, I've been able to usually have a pretty good balance between schoolwork and outside involvements and, work too, because sometimes you want to be able to have the money to go into the city or to enjoy Boston.
I also think oftentimes for me, the work I do for the clubs doesn't feel like work. Like it feels like my free time. Like that's how I want to be spending it. And when that's the case, like when you're actually like passionate about what you're doing, like it's pretty easy to balance it because your breaks are actually doing the club itself. That being said, I know like oftentimes most clubs at BC are really good about kind of letting you decide how involved you want to be and how much of a commitment each club is going to be. I know CAB is really good about that, that we have some people who will devote hours a week towards this organization. We have some people who just work like an hour a week and they do their jobs and they just do their own thing, and that is totally acceptable either way. We also have, I think, and again, I'm just speaking from my own experiences here, the other students in the clubs are really good about picking up slack when you're having like a really stressful week, and then you do the same for them when they're maybe having a stressful week. For example, the director of my department in CAB was just taking the LSATs last week, so she kind of stepped back for a few weeks to prepare for that, and we all were happy to kind of fill that role while she was gone. And even today, like I was texting her and I was like, just remember, like in the words student organization, like student comes first. Like, and I think everyone really understands that and acknowledges that like we're here for academics and the club is supposed to be for fun. It's not supposed to be something that you feel obligated to do or is putting you like under too much pressure. I mean, that's definitely been the mindset of all the clubs I'm in, not just CAB. And that's definitely something I really appreciate. I know like even like right now, like I'm crazy busy and it's like this right now is a nice break. Like this is something I'm enjoying doing. This isn't like an obligation that I was dreading.
Great, thanks for sharing that. That's a great reminder, Justin. Student comes first there. So you guys have talked a lot about some of the clubs that you're specifically involved in. When it comes to social life at BC, there are also some really like big events that happen on campus. There are like big sporting events, when it comes to football season or basketball and hockey season or some of our other athletic organizations. Then there are big events when it comes to like arts and performances on campus and concerts. Can a few of you maybe talk about that? Maybe one or two you talk about some, big athletic things on campus, and then one or two you talk about maybe some big performances and things like that happen on campus. Some of those like highlight type events.
Sure. So I can first talk about Showdown. So what Showdown is, it's a huge event in the spring semester where every single dance group at BC competes against each other for charity. Two of my roommates are actually on the tap team here at BC, so they compete every year in Showdown. And our dance groups are so dedicated at BC. We're actually a huge dance school. Everyone is so invested in our dance teams. So they start practicing their Showdown dance in the beginning of the school year around August and September. They're already starting to rehearse now, even though it's in April. And every single BC student goes to this event. It sells out our entire hockey and basketball arena. It probably doesn't even sell out for regular basketball or hockey games, but the one time the arena sold out every year is for Showdown. And it's really one of my favorite BC traditions and events every single year, just seeing every single person come together to support our classmates and our friends and our roommates, and they compete for charity in the end. So they're rewarded a cash prize, and it's a really fun at the end to see which charity they donated to, and it's just a really fun way to see our community come together and support the arts.
I can talk about our bigger athletic events, two of which being maybe our football games, hockey games, but then also Marathon Monday, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But for the football and hockey games, for football especially since it takes place in the fall, a lot of students will kind of be tailgating. So I really love it because my brother, who I mentioned before, he comes back and he's an alum, and he comes back with his friends. So I'll meet up with him. You get to have some really great food. Typically, you know someone who knows someone's parents who has a spot. So you're able to maybe snag some food before the game and just really socialize with a lot of students, which has always been my favorite part. I know last year, a lot of the sophomores lived in the same area, so you would all flood out at the same time and end up seeing your entire grade at once. And that was really fun because I just got to meet a lot more people through that as well. And then, of course, our hockey games, Michaela mentioned the Bean Pot. That's a really popular one. And then our other athletic event, it's not really through BC Athletics, but it still takes place right near our campus, is Marathon Monday. It's the Boston Marathon. We get classes off. It's called Patriots Day. It was the coolest thing for me to witness my freshman year, just, having watched it my entire life. We're located at mile 21, and Commonwealth Avenue is the route or the road that they take. It passes right by our campus. A lot of BC students end up running that marathon at some point in their 4 years. So you'll see a lot of students decked out in gear for their friends, and students just lined up, and a loud cheer goes on as well whenever they see kind of that BC Eagle logo. And that really brings our community together. Also, just with being in Chestnut Hill, we are a more like suburban type campus. I always love it because those football games, I get to see little kids again. It reminds me that I'm not just, I don't know, like a college student walking through life anymore, that there's kind of, things to do outside of campus as well. And you get a little taste of home, which was something I always appreciated.
I guess I'll go again. I'm a little biased here because I'm going to keep talking about CAB events, but this one is a perfect example of something that is both a performance and athletics. This is one of my favorite days on campus, and it's the last day of every spring semester. It's what we call, it's two of our largest events. It's Mudstock and Modstock. So if you don't know, the mods are really popular senior housing. It's kind of like an iconic thing here at BC. Yeah, Michaela is showing off hers right at the moment. So in the mod parking lot at the end of the semester, we do mud volleyball in the morning called Mudstock, which is essentially exactly what it sounds. It's a mud volleyball tournament. The seniors get like super into it. That was the thing I referenced that I refereed, like the seniors like yelling at me every call I made. It was so much fun. Usually it's on the last day of classes, so people will go play that for like a few hours and then go to class like caked in mud. And that's just like the normal thing to do. Then students clean themselves up, and then that same evening in the same parking lot, we do Modstock, which is our largest spring concert. And so like I mentioned earlier, DC does have 3 concerts every year, but this is our largest one. It's also completely free to the student body. We usually offer up to 5,000 tickets, and it's completely outdoors. It's a great way to kind of like kick off the summer and end your semester, and enjoy those first few days before finals start. Definitely one of the highlights of my freshman year, and I was disappointed that it had to be canceled as a sophomore, and I can't wait to see what turns into both this year and next year.
Fantastic. All right, so we've talked a lot about what happens on campus, but like the city of Boston is really right there at our doorstep. So I'm sure some of you use the city of Boston for social life and sort of to expand the social scene beyond campus. Can any of you talk about how students utilize the city of Boston? Do students go in very often? Is there a mix? How do you see Boston playing into students' social life at BC?
I think for myself, I have gotten more comfortable going into Boston the older I've gotten. Freshman year, I think we would still go in maybe once a month on the weekends. Sometimes we'd just take the T to a random location and get out like wherever it took us. But one of my favorite places to go is like the Museum of Fine Arts or like the Isabel Stewart Gardner Museum, which are both not too far away on the public transportation, and they're free to get into, and I love art. But what I think really made me super comfortable going into Boston was my participation in the Pulse program, which is that philosophy and theology class that you can take your sophomore year for the full year. And I really enjoyed it because you go into the city and are working with a service site. So it's another way to, you get part of being in the city is, interacting with everyone in the city. And so it was really cool to be able to actually like be, you feel like you're actually immersed in the city and they understand who you are, and you're not just like this college student, like kind of like visiting. You don't feel like you're visiting anymore. You feel like you're actually like living there and experiencing it almost as a Bostonian, I guess. And that was like the year when I really felt like Boston was my home instead of like Tennessee being my home. And ever since then, I think I'm really comfortable with navigating the city and understanding like how it works and who lives where. And I think that the Pulse program was huge for that.
For me, I know Michaela kind of did a great job explaining how we were the ultimate college town earlier, but I have definitely experienced that firsthand. I am from the Boston area, so I do know people that go to BU, Northeastern, some of the other smaller schools within the city of Boston, and it has been so cool because they're right on the T route to hop on the T right next to our campus and be able to see people I knew from high school or from other events at BC in the city of Boston whenever I want. And even if you are not from New England or you don't know people that are going to these Boston schools, you will probably meet them, because all of these students will be going to similar restaurants to you. They'll be going to like the museums, like people were talking about. They all have free access to those museums too. And you'll probably be coming in contact with them, which is so cool, because I mean, the BC community is awesome, but you also have the chance to make friends with all of the other students going to college in Boston. I'm currently living off campus right now. I'm living in Brighton, and it really is like everyone around me is either a college or a graduate student. It's so cool to be in a neighborhood where I'm surrounded by people who are of a similar age to me and are accomplishing similar goals and also have similar things they enjoy doing for fun. So that's definitely one of the coolest parts about going to BC, is having access to all of the other Boston schools as well.
Perfect. Well, I think you guys did a really great job of sort of summarizing social life at Boston College and really getting at what makes Boston College a community, um, and uh, and how students make friends and how they really spend their time outside of the classroom. So I really appreciate that. So thanks for taking the time to tell us a little bit more about your BC experiences. I also want to take this opportunity to plug some of the other great virtual visit opportunities that you can engage with um, uh, over the course of the next couple months as you're trying to learn more about Boston College. If you enjoyed hearing from these 5 students, as several of them mentioned, the Student Admission Program is a really great organization that allows us to take many great students like this as our volunteers, and we have them doing so many different programs. Like we have an Eagle for a Discussion program, which is essentially an opportunity for you all to have like one-on-one chats with current undergraduate students. So you can find all of these different opportunities at bc.edu/visit. So you could do a one-on-one conversation with a current student at BC, and we'll even try to pair you with a student from maybe your geographic location or someone who's interested in studying the same thing that you have an interest in. We run live stream tours of campus pretty much every weekday. I know Julia and Justin are laughing. They did those every day this summer. They walked around campus with an iPhone filming themselves. So those are live stream tours of campus that you can ask questions, and it's live in a Q&A, and some of our students that are walking you around campus will take questions there. This information session tonight was a really specific information session about one particular topic at Boston College, but every weekday and some weekends as well, we run general information sessions about Boston College. We talk a little bit more about BC from a bird's eye view, and we tell you a little bit about the application process as well. So I would definitely encourage you to explore our website, bc.edu/visit, and look at all the different virtual opportunities with which you can engage to learn a little bit more about Boston College. Because as I said, we're grateful that you spent the time with us tonight, but we know how challenging this college search is for you under these circumstances. So we hope that we can do everything possible to teach you as much about Boston College. Oh, and it actually looks like our students are kind enough to put their information in. Some of them are putting their information in the chat right now. So if any of them said something that piqued your interest, and you want to follow up with them, certainly feel free to reach out to them and follow up, because I know they'd be happy to chat with you. And I know we didn't get to answer all the questions that came in. And it looks like Julia's giving the tour tomorrow as well. So if you want to tune in, you can tune into her tour as well. But again, thank you so much for taking the time to learn about Boston College. We're grateful that BC is on the list of schools that you're even considering. And we wish you the very best with your college search processes. And we wish you and your loved ones all the best of health as well. Thank you so much, and have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you.